Assalamualaikum waalaikumsalam. Assalamualaikum
Waalaikumsalam.
Assalamualaikum
Waalaikumsalam.
Assalamualaikum waalaikumsalam.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, all praise is due to Allah the Almighty, the Lord of the worlds. May Allah's peace, mercy and blessings be upon His final and last messenger, Muhammad. And may Allah's peace, mercy and blessings be upon each and every one of you, dear viewers, watching this new episode of your program, The Revelation.
Assalamualaikum waalaikumsalam.
In this episode, my dear viewers, I'm going to be sharing with you a story. Yes, it's a very breathtaking and informative story. And it provides the answer, a very subtle answer, to many of the questions that are now being raised when it comes to our lives and how we develop and how we grow in life. The story goes as this. Once there was a king. And this king was always accompanied by his prime minister. And wherever this king would go, definitely his prime minister would follow. And there are two distinguishing things about the king and also his prime minister. So the king was accustomed and he was of the habit and he enjoyed so much going out to hunt in the jungle and in the forest. And on the other hand, the prime minister was always of the habit of saying to whatever thing that would happen to him or come across his way, even if it would appear to be not good, he would say, Alhamdulillah, la'allahu khair. He would say, all praise is due to Allah, all thanks is due to Allah. I am all hopeful that this is what is better for me.
فعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا ويجعل الله فيه خيرا كثيرا.
In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate, you may be averse to a thing, and God creates in it much good for you.
On one of the days, and as the king carries out his habit of going out for hunting, he did something wrong with the tools of hunting, and the result was losing one of his fingers. So right away, on the spot, the prime minister, witnessing this, he said, Alhamdulillah, la'allahu khair. He said, all praise is due to Allah. I am hopeful that this is what is better. This is what is good. So the king gets very angry and he says, what is it you are thanking Allah for? What is it you are thinking or hopeful of that is better while I have already lost one of my fingers? So the king gets very angry with his prime minister, and on the spot he issues his orders for the guards who were around, and he says to them, take the prime minister away and throw him into prison. The days pass, and even because this is what I told you, the prime minister was always in the habit of saying Alhamdulillah, la'allahu khair. So as the soldiers were on their way taking him to prison, he said Alhamdulillah, لعله خير. So this made the king even become more angry and more infuriated. And he said, what kind of prime minister and what kind of person are you? I'm taking you into jail and still you say, Alhamdulillah, لعله خير. So he was put behind bars alone. So the days pass and the king is still fond of the habit of going out in order to hunt. So on one of the days, the king loses his way and he gets lost and it even gets dark. So with no one around him, he is completely all alone. And the story tells us that he is all of a sudden caught by a group of people that belong to a tribe, a very primitive tribe that were, and the members of this tribe that were still of the custom of offering human beings as sacrifices for their alleged gods. So they find the king and his crown and his fancy outfit and what he puts on. So they say among themselves, this is the one to offer as a sacrifice to please our gods. So they stifle him, they chain him, and they take him away and they fold his eyes, they blindfold him, and they take him and they place him on the altar. So they carry out the rituals and everyone is ready to have and to see and to witness the king being offered as a sacrifice for the gods. As they were all ready for this, and as it was just the time for him to sacrifice him and to even have him offered as a sacrifice, and as this was the case, and the king became very certain that that's it, the king is doomed, and this is now, these are the last few seconds of his life. And as it was the time, then all of a sudden, one of them shouts out loud, stop, this person is not the right one to be offered as a sacrifice for our gods. So they ask and everyone there exclaims and they are astonished, why is it we are about to offer him as a sacrifice for our gods? And he points out to one of his fingers and he points that this finger is losing from this man and therefore he is not really eligible to be offered to our gods. So at this very point, and at this very point alone, the king recognizes and acknowledges and now appreciates the meaning of the words of his prime minister when he said, Alhamdulillah, لعله خير.
أول قبل الوجود آخر بعد الخلود مطلق عن الحدود واجب له السجود.
He now recognized, yes, that's Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah, that losing his finger was really what is best and better for him, because if it were not for this lost finger, he would lost all of his life now. So as they released him, he right away went in a hurry to the prime minister in his jail. So he says to him, okay, now I recognize and I see the point when you said Alhamdulillah la'allahu khair when I lost one of my fingers. But how is it? And what is the point? And the thing that I still cannot make head or tail of is when I even issued the instruction or the command to the soldiers to take you away and to throw you into jail, still you said Alhamdulillah la'allahu khair. He said, my king, it's very simple. I am your prime minister and wherever you go, I follow you. So definitely, as they found you in the desert or in the jungle, I mean, and as they found you in the jungle, they would definitely have also found me. And as they found you to be not in a position, not in a position to be offered to their gods, definitely they would have found that I have all my fingers intact, and I would be, or I would have been the one who would now have been offered on the altar for the gods.
فعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا ويجعل الله فيه خيرا كثيرا.
In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate, you may be averse to a thing, and God creates in it much good for you.
This is the thing, that whatever happens, we need to trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As long as we are doing our best and we are taking all the lawful means, we need to be rested, assured that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control, and whatever happens with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we should not despair and jump into conclusions and starting to complain that my life is going this, or this is taking a place in my life, or that whenever I do this always happens. No, as long as you are doing your best and it is lawful and it's permissible, leave all of it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and rest assured that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control, and He will guide and He will provide. This is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the believers, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in charge of everything, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of the affairs of the heavens and the earth. So this is why we need to understand this subtle meaning when it comes to the question of the evil things that would take place in our lives. So this is why we always need to remember and to internalize the words of this Prime Minister by saying and having it always in our heart, in our mind, and on our tongue. That's Alhamdulillah, la'allahu khair. And this brings us to the end of this episode, my dear viewers. I leave you in the care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wishing you all the best and all of your loved ones. Until then, as always, your questions, your feedback, and your comments are most welcome via the official Facebook page and the rest of the social media. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamualaikum